Hey, how's it going? If you're new here, my name is Jam and I love makeup. And if you're not new, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate you. Today's video is another one where I'm just talking about eyeshadow palettes. I've had a few of these like tags saved on my phone for a little while, and I thought I should film while I'm wearing this eyeshadow because I like it a lot and I want more people to see it. So this is the top 3 in 6 different eyeshadow palette categories. If my memory serves, I saw Angelica Nyquist do this. If I'm not wrong, I will link her video in the description box so you can go and watch hers if you want to. I feel like we might have some of the same simply because we have similar tastes in eyeshadow, but I pulled out all of the ones I thought were top 3 in this moment, like how I'm feeling right now. These are the top 3 that I would suggest or say. Some of the categories could have had the same palettes for quite a few of them, but I did try to mix it up, and to make it even more complicated on myself, I kept it to palettes that are still available. Now, if we were going to go back to palettes that are no longer available, it would look quite a bit different. Not everything, but there are several things that it would look different. But I wanted to keep it to things that you could pick up if you were so inclined. Hopefully you're up for that. If you are, you're not already subscribed to my channel, now is a good time to do that. I upload a whole bunch of videos every week, and if you click on the bell and choose all, YouTube will notify you when I upload a new one, and you can choose to watch it or not. It's totally up to you. Either way, I appreciate you being here. Okay, let's get into this. The first category is neutral palettes. So, top 3 neutral palettes. I, of course, buried mine, so let me dig those out. Okay, the first one is super new, probably unsurprising. It's the Blend Bunny Forget Me Not palette. This couldn't be any more neutral than it is, and I have been loving this palette. It's so incredibly versatile and useful. I would highly recommend this if this idea appeals to you. If you like something that is super neutral, super wearable, super easy, this is a great palette, and I've been really liking it, like a lot. It pretty much stays on my desk because I'm using it daily, I guess. Maybe not every single time I do my makeup, but almost every single time. There's a cat hair attacking the side of my nose. Oh, that's a brutal feeling. Okay, the next neutral palette isn't always available, but it is most of the time, and that is the Sydney Grace and Tiny Marvels palette that Mel Thompson did with Sydney Grace before she passed away. And this is what the inside looks like. I feel like most of us who wanted this palette probably have it, but just in case you missed it, you could pick it up. It's a great palette, very neutral with a little bit of color if you wanted to like dip your piggy toes in a tiny. The quality is excellent. Sydney Grace has a beautiful eyeshadow formula for all the things I've tried. And the third palette that I chose is the Nomad Whistler Snow Lodge palette. To me, this is a very neutral palette. I really feel like blues and greens are neutral colors, and this does have, you know, a fair amount of neutral, and even these are very like toned down wearable shades in my opinion. So I think this is a neutral palette. You don't have to agree with me, that's totally fine, but it qualifies for me. And I do want to have an honorable mention because this is brand spanking new in my collection, and I've been using it to do bite-sized videos. I did a first impressions with it. This is a neutral palette, and it is so good. So good. Holy moly, holy ding dong. This palette is fantastic. If you like neutrals, if you like mattes and shimmers equally, that could be the palette for you. So I didn't want to leave that one out, even though it's super new. I'm telling you right now, it's going to make the best of the best of 2023. The second category is rainbow / colorful palettes. And again, I wanted to keep this to palettes you can still purchase. So the first one is the Violet Voss Rainbow Palette. Now I found this on the Violet Voss website, but it's a mini, which I think is lovely. A mini version of this is fantastic. The quality in this is really good. The colors are really fun. It's an all shimmer palette. It's great. I really need to use this more. You can tell by the hot mess that it is. I've used it quite a bit. So that's number one for rainbow. The next palette that I think is a rainbow palette is the Blend Bunny Surge palette. It's not it's not a typical like Roy G. Biv rainbow, but look at those colors. I mean, just the party you can have on your eyes with this palette screams rainbow to me. You've got a little bit of everything. It's amazing. And the formulas, boy howdy. The shimmers maybe aren't my most favorite, but I like them. The mattes, so good, so good. And the last rainbow palette I have is the Nomad Paradise Islands palette. Again, not strictly rainbow in the Roy G. Biv sense, but you've got, you know, the pinks, green, blue, yellow, purple. This palette has it all. For me, this is a rainbow palette, and it is delightful. It's so fun to play with. I love, love, love this palette. And I did just use it recently, so that feels good. But yeah, I mean, in the eyeshadow game, Nomad and Blend Bunny are doing all the things. And if you missed the recent video I did, they are actually my favorite brands. That's it. It's an amazing thing for me. You probably don't understand, and that's totally fine. But yeah, it blows my mind. I have a favorite. Okay, next up we have the top 3 monochromatic palettes. This one was a bit trickier because immediately I was like, oh, the BH Cosmetic Sweet Shops. But I was like, wait a minute, those aren't available anymore. So I grabbed out a couple BH ones. We're going to have an honorary mention in here as well. And it is the, we'll go with this one because I've got 2. This is the Optimistic AF from BH Cosmetics, and it's an orange palette. We've got this shade right here, but it's really just a deepening up the orange shade. This is a great monochromatic palette, like great. The honorable mention is the Let That Shiz Go. It's a green palette. Any one of these in this, I don't even know what this collection was called, the swear word collection. Any one of the palettes in this, I could not recommend highly enough. They are monochromatic, so you have to like that, but man, oh man, they're so good. So number 2 is the Glamlight Wine palette. As far as monochromatic palettes go, this is a purple palette, and it's lovely. If you like purples, this is a fun palette to have. I really enjoy the looks that I do when I play with it. They're purple, so there's that, but it's really good. And the last one is the Clionadh Cosmetics Dragon Fruit palette. I have to get my handy dandy little knife to open it because it's too hard to open. And this is a pink palette, pretty much. You gotta like pink eyeshadows if you want this palette, but I have done looks and not used the pink eyeshadows. So, you know, it can be done. This is a fantastic palette. It's very expensive, but it's so good and so fun. I cannot recommend that one enough. I didn't think to look to see if it's still available. Shoot. If it's not, I'm really sorry. Next up, we have mini or small palettes. This one was hard for me because I don't have a lot. I have most of the Natasha Denona minis and some drugstore ones, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend the Natasha Denona ones. So I picked 3, take it or leave it. They had to be part of the category. So I picked out the Naked 2 Mini. that I got for the OG YouTubers use this all the time kind of video. It's a very nice all matte, cool toned, neutral palette, but it's a mini, so it's going into the mini category. This next one is the Pat McGrath Labs Midnight Voyage. This is fine. It's a nice palette. It's a mini. And if you like the color story, you want a purple or neutral look, I'd say get it. There's nothing wrong with the quality. But it is what it is. And the last one is the Nabla Metropolitan Cutie palette. This is a very good palette. Tiny, and I don't love tiny palettes, but the quality is great. The shimmers are great. I've liked every look I've done with this palette. This is one I would recommend. And I guess that's where my kind of ambivalence comes from, is that I don't like small palettes. I like larger palettes with lots of options. So take that for what it is, but they are good. Like quality, can't complain. Second to last is affordable / drugstore palettes. I chose out basically the 3 that I have and would recommend. Any one of these LA Girl Foreplay palettes are so good. Absolutely fantastic. Could not recommend these enough. They are so good. They do not get enough love in the makeup world as far as I'm concerned. And the next one is the Flower Beauty Jungle Lights. This is such a nice palette. It's all shimmers. The shimmers are absolutely lovely. Like, this is a good palette, and it's drugstore. And the last drugstore / affordable is the BH Cosmetics Passion in Paris palette. I love this palette. Like, truly love this palette. And if you like the color story, get it. It's so good. I don't say that a lot, like, oh, you need this. But if you like this, man, oh man, I have not done a look I did not love with this palette. It's so good and so fun to play with. And the quality is not drugstore by any stretch of the imagination. And the last category is high-end / luxury. I do have, like, if I were going to say the best high-end palettes are, in my opinion, in my collection, the Pat McGrath Mega palettes that she does around the holiday. I love those. Aside from this itty bitty one, I don't really have a lot of Pat McGrath. So we're going with Natasha Denona. I have a lot of Natasha Denona palettes. And of all of them in this moment, this is the one I would recommend. I think this one is very fun. You get lots of different looks with it. It's a good time. I like this palette, so I would definitely recommend this one. Next for luxury or high-end is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz. I have not liked any of the Huda 9-pan palettes. I got a whole bunch in the early days and regretted well, not regretted, but didn't enjoy them. So I don't get those anymore, but this palette is really nice. I don't know what that shenanigans is, but this is a nice palette. I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for something cool toned, nice, a lot of money. So I don't know why you would when there's so many other brands out there that you could use, but that's not what this is. And the last one is my Viseart palette. It's the only Viseart one I have because Viseart's expensive. But the quality of these matte eyeshadows is knock your socks off good. It's so good. I love it so much. And I actually ended up picking this up. I think in the Boxy Charm like store thingy, they had this, and I was like, all right, I'm never gonna get Viseart any other way, so let's try it. And I love that palette. It's so good. So there you have it, 6 categories. The top 3, like I said, I'll link Angie's video below, assuming I can find it, and it was her. And I'm interested to know what you think of these palettes. Do you have any of them? Would you recommend any of them? Are there some that should make this list that haven't? Maybe I have them. But again, this is just like how I'm feeling at this moment, not, you know, any other, there's nothing else involved, just that and my crazy opinions. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Either way, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. Be good and remember to be kind to you.